All right, it is 1:30, so got a lot to cover, so I think I'm gonna get started. So our team is Team Attain, and we did just the facts on educational attainment. An overview of our project is we were tasked with gathering, cleaning, examining, and forming data visualizations related to educational attainment of communities in Iowa that may experience barriers to entry when contemplating their educational future. We investigated different elements of primary schooling and post-secondary education to see if there were any relationships, trends, or spatial associations that could give more information about disparities that communities encounter when they are trying to meet their educational goals. Some of the factors that we looked into were IEPs, English language learners, free reduced lunch, college intentions, dropouts, military intentions, and post-secondary education. An assumption that we made was that socioeconomic status is tied to educational attainment and education in general, which the Iowa Department of Education data supported in our findings. Our stakeholder was the Department of Human Rights, and their mission is to empower underrepresented Iowans through advocating for the elimination of economic, social, and cultural barriers to full participation in civic life. So let's get into the posters. Our team created multiple posters using the data from the ACS and the Department of Education to solve their questions in solving disparities in underrepresented groups. So our first poster is on IEPs, and IEPs are individual education programs, which is an individualized plan that provides achievable goals for a child with a disability. Looking at the pie chart in the top left, we can see that when IEPs are broken down by sex, males make up the majority of recipients of IEPs. And we believe that this is because they are more likely to be diagnosed with disabilities like ADHD and learning disabilities than females are. The map shows school districts where IEPs are concentrated. Each division is a school district with darker blue signifying higher percentage of IEPs in that school district. The bar graph shows percent of students with an IEP by race. We found that Native American and Black students have the highest rate of IEPs, while Asian students have the lowest proportion of IEPs. The line graph shows IEPs by race from 2015 to 2021, with Native American and Black students having the highest rate of IEPs over time as well. This graph shows that the proportions in the bar graph have been consistent over the past 7 years. Continuing with IEPs, we found, looking at the scatter plot, that there's a positive correlation between the proportion of students with IEPs and the proportion of students that qualify for free reduced lunch for school districts in Iowa. The correlation strength was moderate at 3.385. The bar graph shows that IEP students qualify for free and reduced lunch at a rate 15% higher than the overall student population. And the bar graph on the left shows that on school district population size in cities, IEPs are given at a steady rate, with 13.8% coming from urban areas. Our next poster is on English learners in Iowa school districts. These are students whose primary language is not English. So we also abbreviate that by EL. The pie chart in the top left show that English learners make up of 6% of total enrolled students in K through 12. And of the 6%, 55% are male and 45% are female. The top right graph shows EL by race and ethnicity, with the majority of EL students, they identify as Hispanic. The map shows the hotspots of English learners in Iowa. The highest proportions of EL students in school district populations are colored in red. So you can see those hotspots there. And then the bottom right bar graph shows that EL students with an IEP is around 10 to 17% Hispanic as the highest group, which has been consistent in our findings. Our next poster is on free reduced lunch and how that relates to reading and math proficiency levels. Proficiency rates in Iowa are taken from the Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress, which is ISASP, is the test that is taken. And that shows whether a student is not yet proficient, or advanced in their studies. So the map shows the proportion of students in each district eligible for free and reduced lunch. Darker blue signifies a higher percentage of students eligible for free reduced lunch. The bottom left bar graph shows students in a school district eligible for free reduced lunch is higher in urban population than in other areas. And then the two scatter plots show a strong negative correlation between free and reduced lunch eligibility in school districts and proficiency in math and reading, each dot representing a school district. So where there is a higher proportion of students with free and reduced lunch, there's also a lower proportion of students proficient in math and reading. We dug a little deeper into this and divided this into population for that school district. So this is also comparing free and reduced lunch eligibility and math and reading proficiency by district, and we found negative correlations among all population sizes. The scatter plot at the bottom left compares free reduced lunch eligibility with minority population by district. School districts with a higher minority population are more likely to have higher proportion of students eligible for free and reduced lunch. And that's for 2020 and 2021. Our next poster is all about where students are going after college graduation. So college intentions. College intentions are graduating high schoolers who plan to pursue post-secondary education in a 2-year, 4-year, or community college system. The map shows intentions by district. Darker colors show higher college intentions. The top left bar graph show that females have higher college intentions than males by 16%. And the line graph shows that college intentions have dropped across the board among all population sizes in Iowa since 2010. And then looking at the bottom right bar graph, this shows college intentions by race. About 82% of Asian high school graduates plan to go to college, while only about 63% of Pacific Islander students plan on going to college, which is a pretty big difference. Now looking at dropout rates. This is students who leave high school from grades 7 to 12 before graduating. So the top left bar graph shows that IEP dropout rates have been higher than the overall student population since 2015. So IEP students are more likely to drop out than the student population. And the pie chart in the top right shows that the majority of students dropping out are males for the 2019 to 2020 school year. The scatter plot shows a positive correlation between districts with high dropout rates and those who qualify for free and reduced lunch. And the bottom right bar graph shows that free and reduced lunch students are most frequently the ones who drop out, comparing to individual education program students and English learners. Looking at military intentions now. The top left bar graph shows that in 2019, only about 33% of students in Iowa had military intentions after high school compared to other intentions. Looking at the line graph, military intention hasn't changed much over time, with a clear pattern by population groups, or no clear pattern, sorry. It's kind of all over the place. Smaller towns have a larger percent of military intention by a little bit, but not much. And then the scatter plot shows intentions after graduation and the percent of those who qualify for free and reduced lunch by school district. And then the bottom right bar graph shows we found that students that identify as Pacific Islander have the highest rate of military intentions, but that is not conclusive due to the small number of Pacific Islander students. And then our last graph, or our last poster, is all on educational attainment. So here we are looking at who's achieving education in Iowa. The pyramid graph at the top shows educational attainment between males and females across varying degree levels. Most notably, in professional and doctorate degrees, females are obtaining more bachelor's and master's degrees than males, but males obtain more doctorate and professional degrees. The bar graph to the top right shows median earnings across all degree levels, which females earn less than men at all levels of educational attainment. And then the bar graph at the bottom is broken down by race. So educational attainment by race. Asian populations obtain more bachelor's degrees and higher degrees than any other group, while Latino has the highest frequency of not obtaining a high school diploma. And then educational attainment continued. The top left bar graph shows what the first bachelor degree of Iowans aged 25 and up obtain. The business degree is the most common, followed by education degrees. The top right bar graph is educational attainment by language. And as you can see, English is the highest and most common out of all the languages shown. And then educational attainment by computer and internet access is the bottom right graph. So individuals with less than a high school degree have less access to a computer, and this gradually decreases with higher education. And then the map to the left is, this shows that veterans, the proportion of veterans with a bachelor's degree or higher, red representing lower percentages and blue representing higher percentages. I know that was a lot. That is all of our posters. I can take questions now, and I will also show our vignettes, our website that we made, going through all the code and compiling the data. So are there any questions? Thank you for the applause emoji. I will, you can feel free to interrupt me. In the meantime, I will go over our vignettes for each of the posters that we made, where the data came from, and how we created all these graphs for DHR. So just the facts on educational attainment. Here's our team. There's me. I also had Max and Lila. They were our other interns. Our fellow was Amanda, and Bailey was our main faculty lead. And then we also got help from Lisa, Sandy, and Chris. Everybody worked really hard, and it was great. Here are our articles. So I started out with, here's some of our code. This is for graduation intentions. This is Max's main pages. Here we have all of our data sources here. Most of our data came from the Iowa Department of Education, but we did use some of the ACS 5-year data, which was for our educational attainment posters. So here is a quick run through of the code that was cleaned up from the Department of Ed. And we go into the methodology where we create our graphs. So here is showing that females have greater intentions to go to college than males do. We've got our graph on broken up by race, college intentions. Overall percentage being around 70, 73. Here's a map of high school graduates. We all saw this in the poster presentations, but this is how we made them. And the line graph showing that there's been a steady decline in college intentions.